Meeting is called to order. Certification of compliance with open meeting law. Roll call.
Paul.
Here.
Bratzett. Here.
Approved minutes from April 22nd, 2021 town board meeting, and minutes from April 20th, 2021 special town board meeting, and May 5th, 2021 special town board meeting.
I move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the three aforementioned meeting. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carried. Bills?
For April, we had to pay the,
You have more copies?
oh, no, I'm sorry, I just have the one.
Oh, okay. Read it.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I'll make sure that I get the copies. The United States Treasury, we paid $1,076.36. The Wisconsin Towns Association, we paid $365. Badger Land Disposal, we paid $9,367.74. We Energies for street lighting, we paid $54.13. For the clerk treasurer, we paid $1,065.42. For DD, we paid $741.11. For Ed Miller, we paid $60. There was a couple of trees we worked on. The lawyers, we paid $751.30. For Jefferson County Highway, it was $11.02 for icing. The post office box, we paid $122. We could have paid it half a year or a full year, and a full year was cheaper, so we went with the full year. For Bratzett, we paid $230.87. For Call, we paid $369.40. And for Natrup, we paid $230.87. Yes. Call,
Yes.
Bratzett. Approved. Natrup.
Approve.
Those approved as presented. Public comment. Who do we have yet? Comment is there. Is that on the comment sheet?
We had an Irene and Jim.
Yep, Irene Blaskowski. I'm speaking on behalf of Donna Tronka, who had a medical procedure and cannot be here, so she asked that I present this to you. And it says, to the Town of Palmyra board members, subject is proposal for the development of a town notification email list. The Town of Palmyra has not had an active website for several years. This has made it inefficient to effectively communicate with the constituency about upcoming meetings and other issues. While meeting notices are posted on 3 official posting boards, it isn't always an effective means of communication due to weather, timing of the postings, and difficulty for some who physically can't get out to the posting boards. The town board has discussed reactivating a town website at some point. I am suggesting an interim means of more effectively communicating with the electorate until a website is reactivated. Proposal: develop a town notification email list for the purpose of sending meeting agendas and other notifications to town residents and others who are interested in receiving this information. I can help compose an initial notification which can be sent out to a compiled list of email addresses informing the recipients about the service and noting that if they wish to receive the information, no action needs to be taken. If they do not wish to receive the information, they check the opt-out box and return the email to be removed from the list. They are assured that their email address will not, under any circumstances, be shared with any other entity. The email notices will be sent with the address in the blind carbon copy format, so collective email addresses will not be shown in the original email for privacy purposes. When the website is reactivated, this list can then become part of a website notification feature or what's known as an RSS feed. Getting started. Volunteers can help get this started. I have an email list of many town residents, and we can add to that through other contacts within the community. I can forward that list to the town clerk so she can cut and paste into a notification file. I can also assist by writing and submitting a press release to the Palmyra Enterprise informing interested persons to how they can be added to the email list. We can put a trailer at the end of notices asking people to share the information and add a return email address for persons wanting to be added to the list. Once the list is compiled as a file, it's a simple matter to send a notification by dragging that file to the blind carbon copy line on the email format and hit send. The Wisconsin Office of Open Government states, "It is imperative that we recognize that transparency is the cornerstone of democracy and that citizens cannot hold elected officials accountable in a representative government unless government is performed in the open. It would be easier to achieve this goal if meeting agendas and other pertinent information is more accessible. Depending solely on physical posting boards as a communication means is extremely ineffective considering the other electronic methods available today. Reaching out to the electorate and offering this service shows positive support for open government by the town board. Thank you for your consideration. Donna Trunka." Anyone need an agenda?
Jim?
Okay. Essentially, the comments that I were going to make are almost identical to what Irene did. The only difference is I'd like to point out that this procedure is already being used by Blue Spring Lake Management District, which operates under the same guidelines as the town board. Dick Nathrop is aware of that? Correct, Dick?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that system has been working well for a number of years. I see no reason why that cannot be adopted and used by the town. When you spring a meeting on people that is not properly posted soon enough or in detail, it gives a sign of disrespect to your constituency, and you should stop doing it. I am.
Reports, treasurer.
In the general fund, we have $123,103.75. In the tax account, we have $110,740.39. In the LGIP general, we have $103,624.68. In the LGIP fire and EMS, we have $2.69. I did not get the current airport report, so I'm using March's number, which is $53,794.09, and in the LGIP airport, we have 55 cents.
File.
Place it on file.
Yep, place it on
Place it
file.
on file. Highway.
Okay, we had a pre-construction meeting for Little Prairie Road last week with representatives from Lynch Engineering and from Payne and Dolan. Ed Miller was there along with myself. Went through the schedule and they started work as of today and are looking to have the vast majority of the work, if not all of it, done by Independence Day. Now, we do have a change order based upon a meeting we had back in April when we, along with Lynch and Payne and Dolan and the representative from the town of Eagle, Eddie and myself, there are a number of culverts that it makes sense to replace while we're doing this project. We can do it for far, far less than if we have to come back and do it later. We looked at all of them. There were a couple that did not need replacing, but out of the 8 or 10 we looked at, like 7 or 8 needed to be replaced, or it would be prudent to replace them at this time. That change order amounts to $28,950. So with the board's approval, it's been signed off by Lynch and by Payne and Dolan. I can sign off on that and accept that change order.
Do we get any bridge aid from the county?
Pardon me?
Do we get bridge aid from the county on that, or not?
After the fact, we may be able to get some aid for the culverts,
Okay.
but it's after the fact.
I would move.
They probably won't be done by the deadline for reimbursement in '22, so it'll push out to '23. And I've met now twice with Brian Udovich. Oh, he was at that pre-construction meeting as well from the county, and he will be very helpful in
I would just go ahead and replace them.
Yeah, it made eminent sense to do that.
Don't need a motion for the change order, right?
Yeah.
So I would move that we approve the aforementioned change order for the, was it 28,000 you said?
$28,950.
For 28,950.
I'll second. Been moved and seconded to approve the change order for $28,950 to replace or repair approximately 8 culverts on Woodbury Road, correct?
Correct. Actually, it's Little Prairie and part of another Horseman's Park. We own.
Yeah,
That's
we
about
own.
200 feet. That's
Yeah.
our responsibility. And then down, is it Z? We've got about a quarter of a mile down that
Yeah.
way, and there's 2 or 3 culverts on there
Okay.
that are torn up real bad. So it's more than Little Prairie, but it's part of the Little
Whatever,
Part of
Prairie.
the project.
whatever is in the scope of their work and they can do,
Yeah.
just do it. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion's carried.
I'll get that out to them tomorrow.
Was there any railroad business?
Yeah, should
Oh, I
should
got
we
some
talk-
other stuff.
Should we talk about that railroad thing too? You go ahead with
Go
what
with,
you've got
finish your
first.
highways.
Okay, as I indicated, the Little Prairie Road project, they started work today. There's been some question about the intersection at Beely Road. They're gonna cut that hill down to improve the visibility there. I don't think, there's been some question, some discussion about putting a couple of stop signs up at Tower Road and at Beely. Well, the Beely Road, cutting that hill down will help with the visibility there. Tower Road, I doubt very much, based upon my discussions with Brian Udovich, that we'd get approval to do that. We'll continue to look at it. The main motive would be if we can slow those trucks down, they may stop using the road. And the residents are complaining about the number of semis, the speed of the semis, and so forth and so forth. But I doubt very much that we're going to get approval to do that. Once again, the sightlines are very bad. We could have somebody coming over the hill, and here's a big semi stop. It's not looking good. So, based upon the list that Ron Bennett gave us from Northwest Services, Mike Vant and I went out today and did a road tour and looked at things that needed to be cleaned out and some overhangs that need to be handled. And he's going to be starting on that this week already. His estimate was 1,500, 2,000 absolute max. There's some stuff we've got to get off of the right of way so that Ron's folks can mow. And Mike was very knowledgeable of what needed to be done. And we'll be working closely together. We did have a tree come down on Tamarack. I think it was a Sunday night.
It was Saturday night, wasn't it?
Or maybe it was Saturday
The
night.
weekend.
Whatever it was, I was halfway into my first cocktail. So I got out there with a buck saw, 2 buck saws. The deputy was there. We limbed off the tree as best we could. And then a good Samaritan who was strong as a bull stopped and helped us get that off of the road and into the ditch. And then cleaned up afterwards. His name is Patrick Raleigh, I think. I don't remember exactly, but I did talk to the sheriff's department and sent an email complimenting him on going way above and beyond what he needed to do. In the same vein, Ron and I are going out tomorrow morning and look at the things on his list once again and look at potholes that need to be done and so forth, so we can get going on that. That's all I have. The railroad situation,
Yeah. Have you, are you up to snuff on exactly what it is the Office of the Commissioner of Railroads needs from us for that, to keep moving? I know one thing, we don't have any speed signs
we have no
posted.
speed signs. I'll be
On
talking
Marsh
to Ron
Road.
about that.
So
You
we're
put
gonna,
up signs, don't you, Ron?
We do that.
That's what I
we're
thought.
gonna need a couple 45-mile-an-hour speed zone signs on there anyway,
Yeah.
because nothing is there now. And the railroad keeps insisting that we need to get that lowered to 35. I know it's a struggle, but I can't believe that it can't be done.
It will be a struggle.
Yeah.
From everything that I've read in the regulations and so forth, it will be a struggle, but we'll pursue it.
Okay.
The standard is, what, 85% of what people travel.
I know.
And they're not gonna travel that road at 35. That's just not real. It's not gonna happen. But we'll continue. We need to keep the railroad happy on that, so that when the time comes, they'll put up some.
Yeah, because if we don't, yeah, I'm gonna put up the same.
Right. That's all I have.
Yeah, that's all.
Fire department,
I don't have a report yet. I can tell you that we will be working, very soon on the new contract with the fire department, with the village fire department. We're not there yet.
It's next week, isn't it?
I believe so.
The week after.
You know, I think we had it scheduled for the 13th, but isn't
Oh, the
that?
14th.
The 14th.
This Friday.
Because you brought yours. So there'll be a committee meeting on the 14th, and I guess we'll either have it here or we'll probably have it here.
Okay.
We'll get that for tomorrow.
airport,
Yes.
Blue Spring Lake District.
Um,
I can't represent both.
yeah. I guess you can't. I guess nothing specific right now.
No, we've got our schedule out on the state, and that'll be posted.
Yeah, your annual meeting is 29th, or your
Our informational meeting is the
Informational.
29th.
29th.
And that's going to be at the Village Park again.
Building inspector,
We received a check for $178.90, and it covered 4 permits. 2 of them were electric and 2 were for building permits.
emergency management plan,
Nothing really.
correspondence. Do you have anything?
No.
No correspondence? New business. We'll appoint the following people to the fire and EMS committee. Keith Sommerhauser, Dick Natrup, Jim Gallagher, Winona Bradsett, and Bonnie Wilson. Okay. Discussion and possible action to adopt an ordinance
That needs
regulating.
a motion.
Pardon?
That needs a motion.
Does, okay. So then I moved, I moved to approve the appointment of the 5, Pete Sommerhauser, Dick Natrup, Jim Gallagher, Winona Bradshaw and Bonnie Wilson to the Fire and EMS Committee.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint the following people that were mentioned. I name a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Discussion and possible action to adopt an ordinance regulating yard sales in the R1 zone in the town of Palmyra.
All right. You guys have got this in front of you. And it came with, you got it with some edits, which I had somebody else look at it and make some edits, and frankly, I can't read some of this handwriting, but I'll do my best here. So it needs to be read tonight, and then it will have to be read again at our next board meeting.
Could you ever read it without the mask so we can hear it?
This is an ordinance regulating yard sales in the R1 zones in the town of Palmyra, Wisconsin. Start with the definitions. A yard sale includes all general sales which are open to the public and conducted from or on residential premises, including but not limited to all sales titled rummage, lawn, yard, estate, porch, room, backyard, patio, garage, antique, vintage, or collectible. Now, keep in mind it said not limited to, so somebody could come up with another name, and if it fit what we're going to talk about, it would still be considered a yard sale. And the next definition is one of personal property. Personal property means any property which is owned, utilized, maintained, and acquired in the normal course of living in or maintaining a residence. This does not include merchandise which was purchased for resale or obtained on consignment. And there's a little, see if I can pick out the,
For sale.
pardon?
Obtained on consignment for sale.
Or sale, yeah. Okay. So the miscellaneous general regulations. The following miscellaneous regulations shall apply in any R1 zone within the town of Palmyra. This is just an R1 zone. Yard sales. Yard sales shall comply with the following standards. Yard sales may only be held where permitted under applicable law as an accessory use. It shall be unlawful for any person to sell or offer for sale at a yard sale any property other than personal property. Yard sales may be held only 3 times per year for residential address. Yard sales may last no longer than 1 day. Goods may not be displayed in the public right-of-way. No goods may be displayed within 5 feet of the lot line. No goods purchased for resale may be offered for sale at a yard sale. No property on which a yard sale is conducted shall have more than 1 sign. No sign may be placed on any property except the property upon which such a sale is being conducted. Signs shall not exceed 12 square feet in area and shall be located no less than 10 feet from the nearest lot line. Signs may not be displayed on or within a motor vehicle or any other vehicle. All signs must be removed within 24 hours at the end of the sale. And that's the basic ordinance that we're looking at. We need to have an enforcement, we need to have some enforcement thing. And I talked to Al about it, and he said that we can certainly apply a fine to this. If a fine is not paid, then the town has 2 options. We can go to small claims to get it, or we can go through the state of Wisconsin and attach it to anybody's tax return, income tax return, or anything like that. So
Property tax?
it doesn't come out on property tax if it's an ordinance violation. But it will come out on any kind of return that they get. So, what's a reasonable fine for this? So it's gonna have to be low enough to be reasonable and high enough to get somebody's attention. He said, Larry said 100, and I said it probably needs to be higher than that.
Well, I would say 100 for the first violation and 300 for
There
each
you go.
subsequent.
Yeah, that makes sense.
$100 get my attention.
Get mine too, but if you have $1,000 worth of stuff to sell, it might not. So. Let's make it 200 for the first one, 300 for the subsequent violations. That work, Dick?
Yep.
What's this ordinance, what's the number of this?
It's gonna be 01. This is the first ordinance we passed this year, isn't it?
0121?
We don't have another ordinance on
I don't
file.
think so.
I don't think so. Yeah, it'd be 21,
0121 or 2101?
it'd be 2100. 2100. Okay, so we have to make these, but is it acceptable then with those edits?
Yes.
Fine with me.
Okay.
You just gotta amend the $300.
Yeah. There, a motion to, we have to approve it tonight, and then we'll have to, no, we don't have to publish it. Well, we probably do if it's got a fine in it, but I think we publish it after the second reading,
After it's passed.
after it's passed, after the second reading. So tonight is the first reading, and I guess we approve it tonight, and then we read it and adopt it at the second reading.
It'll be on next one.
Be on next month's agenda for adoption. Tonight, we're just approving the order.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass an ordinance number 210001 that regulates yard sales in R1 zones in the town of Palmyra. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carried. Discussion possible action to consider a request by Andrew and Heidi Garster for conditional use to allow for a home occupation for a floral business in an A1 zone at North 2356 County Road E, PIN number 024-0516-0314-001.
I would move to approve that conditional use.
I'll second it.
Then moved and seconded to approve the floral business conditional use permit as a home occupation. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Discuss and possible action to consider a request by Andrew and Heidi Dorsey for conditional use to allow for home occupation and for an HVAC business in an A1 zone at North 2356 County Road E, PIN number 024-05-16-0314-001. I talked to the zoning people, and they said that, and I talked to the town attorney, and they said that we could approve this on the condition that the county, it will become effective if and when the county gets around to amending their ordinance.
Yeah, I would point out that today, currently, the ordinance allows for only one conditional use on a property. And so they're only entitled to one at this point. So we can approve it condition, the county zoning office says they're going to amend the ordinance to allow for two. But that has to be passed by the county board of supervisors before it is effective. So at this point, the county zoning ordinance does not allow for two conditional uses. So in order to save them from having to come back to the town again, if and when the county does approve this ordinance change, because that's part of the general ordinance, then we can go ahead and approve it, which would take effect only after the county board approves the ordinance
They
change.
will send him a notice to come to the meeting when they vote on
Yeah,
it.
Andy?
Yeah, no, I have copies too of like all my neighbors' signatures, if you guys
Good.
need those.
Yeah,
With
she
both
should
of
have
our-
them on file. That's
Bring those.
important.
No, I'll need those.
Yeah,
We'll need those.
okay.
And you understand you can't move in until the county
Sure.
approves this, if and when, and I notice it's not, I don't believe it's on tomorrow night's county zoning agenda. I
Okay.
don't see it on there.
I talked to Deb Magritz, and she said they intend to.
Well, it wouldn't get done until.
No,
June.
it's not gonna be on the next meeting, but they plan to amend that ordinance.
Okay.
And when they do, that goes before the full county board of supervisors.
Sure.
And then they have to vote it up or down. It usually comes in a packet.
I
you know,
understand.
a
Well,
bunch
they'll
of stuff.
notify you.
And they've done their new land use plan, their comprehensive plan, and their agricultural preservation and land use plan.
I see.
And now they're in the process of updating the ordinances to match the plan.
Okay,
So that will probably be included in that scope of.
okay, understood.
So that's good. So,
Do you have
I
any,
gave you.
do you have anything else? Pardon?
Well,
It's right here.
Yeah, one, no, not that one.
That one.
So,
Way on the bottom.
so I would make a motion to approve. You got a number on that thing, because I don't see it. What's the number? Conditional use.
This is for the HVAC?
There should be a number on that, up on the,
Send us another one that's not complete.
this is the, this would be the one we need the number of, that's the I-80. So, it,
There should be a note.
This is all we got.
It's older than that. No, it should.
there should be a number. in
It should be right
there.
there.
There's nothing on that. I don't see any.
No. Well, maybe signed it anyway.
It's
Well,
fine.
okay, we'll fudge through this. I'd make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for HVAC business at, what's the number?
You want the address?
Yeah.
2395.
In the A1 zone at N2356 County Road E, pen number 024-0516-0314-001 for conditional use for HVAC system. And this approval is contingent on a zoning ordinance change being approved by the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors. Okay?
I second it. It's been moved and seconded to find in favor of this request for the HVAC business. Is there any more discussion? Dick, you have anything?
No, sir.
You have any?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carried. All that's left now is the 2020 audit report presentation. Andy, you guys can leave if you want to. Just leave us the signatures.
But this is going to be.
We
Unless
have
you want to
other
know all
areas.
about the town budget, I'm sure you do.
Hope so. Yeah, thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, guys.
I give it back. Lady on the
See you tomorrow, Ron.
Yep.
No, I give it back. Okay, you are,
I'm Jeff Oswald.
oh, Jeff, okay.
Yeah.
Talked to you lots, never.
Yeah,
met you.
finally get to meet now. I'm Jeff Oswald with Johnson Block and Company, and we conducted the financial audit for the town again this year. So then tonight, I'm here just to do a quick financial overview of the audit itself, and then answer any questions you may have with regards to the audit.
And we did have, the audit.
Give me-
on the
give me a
front.
copy of that.
I'll take one.
Yeah, so instead of going through the whole audit report page by page itself, I'm just gonna go through this financial overview here. So really, before we get into the numbers, so on the first page, I just wanted to quickly go through the content of the audit report. So when you page through the audit report, what you would see. So essentially, first off would be our independent auditors report, or our opinion letter. We did provide an unmodified opinion again this year, essentially noting that the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects, and that they are in compliance with, or they are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Next come the fund financial statements. So this would be for the general fund only, since that is the only fund that the town has. After the financial statements are the required footnote disclosures that supplement the financials. So those footnotes contain summaries of the significant accounting policies that sort of make up the financials, that are sort of the backbone of the financial statements, along with footnotes related to some of the significant balances actually on the financial statements. And then there are a couple final supplementary informational schedules in the back related to budget to actual comparisons and whatnot. To go along with the audit, we were also engaged to compile and submit the annual municipal financial report, or the Form CT. And I'm aware that you have drafts, or you've reviewed a draft of that. So it's just a matter of getting your okay and approval for us to submit that. It is due actually this Saturday, May 15th. So once we get that okay approval, then we'll go ahead and submit that. And then lastly, at the end of the audits, like every year, we were required to provide you with a couple of standard communication letters. The first identifying, essentially identifies any new accounting policies that were implemented during the year, if there were any estimates within the financial statements, if we had any disagreements or difficulties with management during the audit, and then also identifies our journal entries as well. The second letter, another standard letter, essentially identifying any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in the town's internal controls. We did have 2 deficiencies again this year, but these are the same 2 we've reported on in the past, along with, and additionally, they are also very common for smaller municipalities such as the town. One was for material audit adjustments, and the other for lack of segregation of duties. Obviously, with the limited staff, limited expertise to prepare financial statements, things like that. That's sort of the reasons why we include those. But again, these are the same ones we've reported on in past years. The majority of our clients have at least these 2 deficiencies as well. So very common for a town your size. And then lastly, we also provided a management letter again this year, essentially identifying recommendations for possible improvements to internal controls, or items just to bring to your attention, and things like that. So on actual page 1 here, we get into the financial statements themselves. So this is, page 1 is essentially a condensed balance sheet of the general fund. Off the top there, the general fund's assets, you'll see that the majority of the town's, or the general fund's assets, are made up of cash and cash is receivable. You'll note that cash did decrease from 2019, but at the same time, cash is receivable increased. So the main reason for that was due to a decrease in year-end tax collections in 2020 compared to 2019. So with less cash coming in, therefore the receivable went up. So it correlated that way. Liabilities, you'll note that the majority of liabilities, like assets, involve the tax roll. So due to other governments is the largest liability in the general fund. So that's essentially the amount that the town is collecting for the other taxing jurisdictions that will get passed through to them for the tax roll. Deferred inflows of resources, again, the largest amount there is also tax roll related, and that's the town's portion of the 2020 tax roll paid in 2021. So that will be shown as revenue in 2021. Then the remaining amount is fund balance. And you'll see we did split fund balance out by the 2 applicable fund balance classifications that the town has. So assigned fund balance and unassigned fund balance. Assigned fund balance, essentially, that is made up of the town's LGIP accounts along with the airport cash balance. Then the remaining amount is unassigned. And there you'll see at the bottom, we do note that unassigned fund balance is 8% of 2021 budgeted expenditures. And that actually doesn't include the Little Prairie Road construction costs that are in the budget or the debt payoffs, because those aren't the typical operating expenditures of the town. So I just want I just took those out to get a better representation of sort of the reserve in place. So typically, we usually recommend unassigned fund balance to be anywhere from 15 to 25%, because that's just sort of a good gauge of the reserves in place in case of any unexpected expenditures or large loss in funding. So right now, it is a little below our recommendation, but you do also have your assigned funds as well, just in case something happens, you could use those as well. But I just wanted to point that out, and one of our management letter comments was actually with regards to a fund balance policy. And within the fund balance policy, that's typically part of the policy is to implement a minimum fund balance policy where, as I was saying, a minimum unassigned fund balance should be at least 15% of expenditures during the year. If it falls below that, you have to determine how to bring that up to get a good reserve in place. But I just wanted to point that out for now. Page 2, we have a summarized income statement, or essentially a summarized budget to actual statement. You'll note that the general fund did have a balanced budget for 2020. And then when you take a look at actual, fund balance actually increased approximately a little over $11,000. You will note, though, that expenditures and other financing sources, the actual was well less than those two line items, but the reason for that was because of the Little Prairie Road, sort of due to the, weren't sure, at least it was my understanding, weren't sure when the construction would take place and things like that. So I think it was budgeted in 2020, but it obviously didn't happen in 2020, so now it's being budgeted in 2021. So that's the main reason for the under budget amounts in the actual column there. And then we also have a comparison there of the town's general obligation debt compared to the total debt capacity of the town as a whole. So you'll note at the end of 2020, the town had about $92,000 or so in general obligation debt outstanding, where the town's actual debt capacity is $1.6 million. And so the town is only using less than 1% of the total debt capacity it could have at the end of the year. And I'll get into that a little bit in the next couple pages here, but just wanted to point that out. Page 3 is a 5-year analysis of the general fund's expenditures. So I won't necessarily get into the historical data, I'll stick more to 2020 and 2019, but the one item I did want to point out is that you'll see that large spike in 2018 in the green line there, that's Public Works. The main reason for that was that due to the large road project that happened in 2018, I believe it was Zion Road and Marsh Road, I think those were a couple of the roads there. So that was the main spike there in 2018. But when you look at between 2020 and 2019, you'll note the general government expenditures went up, so that's the blue line. The main reason for that was due to, obviously, 2020 was an election year, so there's more elections there, more expenditures with regards to that. And then also an increase in supplies, mostly COVID related, purchasing those type of supplies and whatnot. You also know Public Works increased from 2019 to 2020. The main reason for that is 2020 there was engineering costs starting to come through for Little Prairie Road. And also it looks like there was an increase in snow plowing expenditures as well. Page 4, here we have a comparison, a pie chart comparison for the 2020 and 2019 general fund expenditures. Overall, you'll note that expenditures increased about $100,000 between years, but when you take a look at the percentage of each expense classification to total expense, there really weren't many large fluctuations between years. So obviously, Public Works is the largest expenditure of the town in both years, followed by Public Safety and General Government. But when you take a look at the actual percentages, as a piece of the whole pie, they were pretty consistent, pretty comparable between years. Page 5, we have another 5-year analysis now of the general fund's revenues. You'll note that tax revenue has been increasing a little bit the past couple of years. The main reason for 2019-2020 was due to the fact that the electors did approve a special resolution to increase the tax levy for 2020, or the 2020 revenue. So the 2019 tax roll, 2020 revenue. So I believe that was 55,000, if I recall correctly. So that was the main reason for the increase from 2019 to 2020. Intergovernmental revenues increased as well. The main reason, a couple reasons for that. One was the Routes to Recovery grant funds that were received from the state to help reimburse, help mitigate some of those COVID-related